Welcome back to the Biddiecast. This is week 13 edition, the last week of the regular season. It's your host, Dave Fest, and Shawn Klein, yours truly. How's it going, Dave? Heading into week 13, how you feeling?
It's definitely an intriguing, exciting week. As I mentioned in the group me message, only two teams have nothing to play for. Real, I mean, Chris has points to play for, but he's already secured the number one seed. And Paul, he's eliminated from the playoffs, and I don't think he's too close in the point contention. So, other than that, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to happen?
This is such a tight. I don't remember the last time I was in a league where it's been so close, where you only have two people that have the guaranteed position either out or in.
Right.
This is getting wild. It's all coming down to this week. Tiebreakers are points for. Unfortunately for me, it's not points against. But we'll take a look at the standings after we jump through this past week 12. We want to give a little bit of a recap on that because there were some crazy things that happened over this past week that kind of changes our opinion on what happens moving forward, even though I still think this is a huge question mark as to trying to predict this week. But
Absolutely.
Jump into it, yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Week 12, the first game we have on the docket here is the 80 Biddy tight end by committee against Team Andreski. And Andreski, this is a theme for this week too. Andreski pulls it off with a 1-point win. You know, you got to take a look at his team, and Justin Herbert has just been coming up big for him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you'd like to see better performance from Alvin Kamara, right? Jerry Jeudy, 0. J.D. McKissic, 0. His Colts defense. I mean, how Matt was able to get a win when he had 2 zeros and 6 points from Alvin Kamara. I don't know. I mean, Ben's team certainly didn't have anything to write home about, but he was in position to win, and it looked like he might have. I thought he was going to pull out a small win towards the end of that Pittsburgh-Baltimore game, but Big Ben was forced to throw the ball a couple times, and luckily for Matt, he got a few completions to got the half-point win.
Yeah, I think this is close, and if you're Ben, you're looking at the middle of your lineup here between Kareem Hunt and Darren Waller and saying, where the hell are you guys? Even Aaron Jones. You got to start Aaron Jones, and you need to expect more than 10 points from him. Unfortunately, That didn't happen for him, and I'm actually curious about this week because now both of these guys are bubble teams, both at 6-6. So you don't know whether they're going to make the playoffs or not. And I know Tom Brady is on a bye this week. I'm curious to see what Ben's lineup looks like when we get into the Week 13 previews.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heading over to Padaleski and your team, the Angry Creamsicle. You got trounced this week by the only team that is out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I was definitely hoping for a better showing, especially with Thanksgiving, Deshaun Watson starting me off with close to 40 points. But the rest of my team just didn't really get it done. I mean, Giovanni Bernard, what can I say? I'm still not playing that position.
Hey, you got to be, when you're starting Giovanni Bernard, you got to be happy with, especially 6.9 points.
Yeah, absolutely. I always take that. Wayne Gallman, I think last week you made fun of me for having Wayne Gallman in my lineup, but 18 points, I'll take that. But the rest, Tyler Lockett, Tyler Lockett is either going to have a huge game or do nothing for you, right? It's kind of like DK Metcalf, although DK Metcalf will have more boom games than bust games. But, you look at Tyler Lockett's production, he'll have 30, 40 games, close to 50 points, and then he'll have 5-6 points.
Right. That's what you get from those guys. And DK Metcalf was on Paul's team, and he had a hell. And I think that's when you look at it, your Nick Chubb, your Kenyon Drake, your DK Metcalf, those are the three guys that won the game this week.
Absolutely.
And he's got Jarvis Landry on the bench who pulled off 30 points. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how he stacks the lineup into the last week, see if he can knock someone out of playoff contention.
Yeah.
UK Bills versus the Muppets. This was a killer for me. I don't think I'm out of it. I still think I'm in a situation heading into Week 13 where if I win, I'm in because of my point total. Right. But I'm really disappointed with the way my team kind of came out this week, especially against UK Bills, which we knew was going to be a tough game. And Derrick Henry, 40.5 points. How am I supposed to do that?
What was that?
How am I supposed to compete with that?
I mean,
Jared Goff throwing out 6.
Yeah.
You got to expect 15 points from your quarterback in a super flex league, and Jared Goff's just not getting it done there. Even Russell Wilson, he's had, let's take a look at the last few weeks. I feel like they've been kind of slow for him.
Yeah, I mean, he started off as easily one of the top 5.
Yeah. The past few weeks, like he's still, consistently 25 plus. But the past few weeks, we've had kind of a slow up here. So I don't know if it's because these are tough defenses in this stretch, including Buffalo and San Francisco. But he's playing the Giants this week. I'm really hoping for a big game from Russ Wilson.
I would.
The Bills, he also needs to win this week. He needs another big game from Derrick Henry. He needs a bigger game from Devontae Adams and Juju Smith-Schuster too. He needs all those guys to come up. And I don't know if Mark Andrews is going to be cleared to go. He doesn't have any designation next to him, so the way everyone stacks their rosters this week is going to be something to look into.
Absolutely, and I think some late week waivers are going to be it being Friday. I think tomorrow and maybe we're gonna. I haven't heard anything about COVID ruining any games this week, so I think we're good to go. Who knows? That could all change easily, right?
Right.
But there's some games Tuesday. I mean, keep in mind, it's kind of weird week. So we have games Sunday, Monday as usual, but then there's a game on Tuesday.
So we're not going to know the results of this until probably Tuesday evening.
The results, yeah.
And then after that, one of the things that I did want to talk about actually in the beginning of the show, and I just forgot about it, was about waivers. Where if we see any waivers going through for non-playoff teams, it's I don't know how we can punish people for it. It's just a jerk move.
Right. Yeah. I'd say just take that guy off that person's roster. Maybe you could remove anyone who doesn't make the playoff, remove their free agent, their money they have. So, because if they go in and make a roster move and they don't bid on anybody, I mean, I guess it's their right because nobody else bid on them, right?
Sure.
I would say
bottom line is you're out. We're not doing any toilet bowl standing. If you're out, you're out.
Right.
Hey, you had a fun 13 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping we don't have that issue like we did last year. Just want to make it clear that hey, this year is going to be this year we're making it clear from the start that this is the way to go.
Right.
The final. This is not the final. Actually, it was the fourth game of last week. A low-scoring contest, but it put Derek in a tough position, and Robin in a much better position. This is a game that we were talking about last week. I think it was one of our games of the week. That these are two teams that could very well be a playoff team, and they really wanted to win this. Unfortunately, low scoring for both of them. These are the lowest scores of week 12.
Yeah. You look at this, Derek, 9 points from Kyler Murray, 4 points from Zeke.
5 points from Derek Carr. Oh, this should have been a Derek win.
Yeah. I mean, definitely the writing was on the wall there for Derek that he was not in line to have a good match. But Rob didn't play much better. I mean, Rob just barely beat him. And again, this is the game that came down to that Pittsburgh-Baltimore game on Wednesday. And, Deontay Johnson, I mean, he was to get 15 points. He gets 15 points, Derek wins. But unfortunately, he didn't,
Right.
So it's, there were a lot of drops in that game.
I got to look at Derek Carr and Kyler Murray. I mean, I think these are probably the lowest scores of both these guys throughout the season.
Right.
I mean, 9.6 there, and then Derek Carr, I'm almost positive, a 5.7, like, that beats out his 8 point. He played a terrible game.
Yeah. And then another thing you look at for Derek is you look at Will Fuller. Will Fuller had himself a game, but you're not going to have him anymore because he got suspended for the rest of the year. So.
I mean, that's what PEDs does. It gives you a good game.
Yeah.
So, heading into the last game of the week is the two highest scoring teams.
Ooh. What a game.
incredible. You know, I kind of feel bad for Anton in this situation that he had to play the highest scoring team that only beat him by 1 point. Meanwhile, you have these two teams that were beating up on each other. And I mean, this is, but I have to say, this is what I think is so fun about fantasy football and head-to-head matchups instead of best ball or just take point totals.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Anton's team, 60 points from Tyreek Hill. I mean, that could have been a lot more too, right? 60 points. I mean, I'd be curious to see what's the highest point total ever for fantasy. That's got to be up there.
I think it was up there. I think that was a top 3 game.
Yeah. But you look at the difference. What is the difference in that game? There's a one glaring difference there. It's Jonnu Smith, 0 points, one catch in 5 yards. That's all he needed.
No yards.
One catch, no yards.
Oh, actually, one catch, 1 yard is what he needed.
Yeah, and he couldn't. I mean, I don't know if he had targets. That is just if I'm Anton. I mean, you're looking at Jonnu Smith not doing jack shit for you, and you look at the rest of your lineup. I mean, you could have. I don't know. There's no other tight end, but I mean, you could have. That sucks. That's rough.
One of the funniest things about this matchup is I wish I saved the tweet. There was someone famous out there that was like, "Hey, if you had Tyreek Hill in your lineup and you lost, take a screenshot and send it to me."
Yeah.
And I wanted to send this, and I lost the tweet. But funny it's odd that he lost with a player who scored 60 points. So with that said, does he deserve to lose this game? Probably.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Anton scores that many points, loses this game by 1 week, and he ends up losing next week, and he's out of the playoffs, and that this less than a point would be the difference. That.
Taking a look at our predictions, I did horribly last week. I can't predict these. I should just stop predicting. But hey, we have 1 week left.
I didn't do much better, but I got one, which is better than you.
So this week, I think we need to take opposite bets.
Yeah. So I will just make my pick, and you'll just pick the opposite. So what are we gonna do? So I got a 5-game lead. You can't win.
Oh, so but I'll open it here. Yep.
So what do you want to do if we tie? I mean, do we just, how about this? We tie, we both send each other an ornament. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
There you go.
We both win.
We both win. No loser in that scenario.
There's no losers. But yeah, it's going to be a long road for me to get all 5, and then you would need to lose all 5. But
right.
The odds are second.
Yeah. I'd say it's not likely, but we'll see what happens.
So a quick look at the standings before we head into Week 13 previews. Everyone is 1 game back in the Biddies division. Bum's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Again, the division doesn't really matter. You have Chris, who secured a 1 spot.
Yeah.
Who do you play this week? You play.
I play Anton. So that could be potentially for the 2 spot, but we don't know what's going to happen over on the Biddy side, because if I lose, that's 6 losses, and then Anton would have 7, and potentially somebody over on the other side is going to have 7.
You would be tied with Anton for 7 and 6 in your division.
Yeah.
Ben is playing Chris. So Chris wants to try to get the most points, obviously, and Ben's trying to stay alive here. Ben would beat out, assuming they get close enough scores here. It's so hard to predict at this point just because of the scores. But he is up by 100, or not 100. He's up by about 48 on Anton. So Anton not only needs a win and a Ben loss, or you could do a win, but it has to be a big win with a Ben win.
Right.
In order to have a shot at the playoffs there.
Yeah, so
it's just a huge mess, because I do think there will be a team at 6 and 7 in the playoffs.
Right. Right. Yeah. Probably. I mean, you just look at where everything's at. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 teams with 6 losses, and then one team with 5, and then one team with 3. So I mean, it's you just do the math there. I mean, there's 2 teams with 7 losses, so you do the math there. I mean, there's like, as you mentioned, there's probably gonna be one team that's gonna sneak in with 7 losses, which is, again, congratulations.
Yeah, just incredible trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I digress, and we head into this week's previews. Hopefully, this will decide who we think will make the playoffs and who won't.
Right.
Killer Tomatoes versus Alex's UK Bills. This one, I think it's probably a win and in situation.
Yeah.
But looking at the projections, I don't see any way that that UK Bills loses this one. Although they did lose their Week 4 matchup quite handily, actually.
Right. I mean, I'm picking UK Bills on this one. I'm not. I mean, that I just, it's. He's got Ryan Tannehill, who's just been surprisingly consistent for the most part, and Derrick Henry, who's, I mean, he's up there. He's up there in the MVP. If not, he's the top person there in the MVP talks. Like, Derrick Henry is just like, I'd be curious. I want to see, how much he got Derrick Henry for. I mean, it was probably 50-60, but like Derrick Henry, I mean, if you go back and we look at all the who was purchased for what, Derrick Henry, I mean, he was probably I think you could argue that he was well worth whatever he was paid for, and he's been great for the UK Bills.
All right, so we did lose that page. I don't know why it's not reloading, but because you are taking Penvos, I've got to take Rob's team here. So just to try to make up some space on here. It's the only choice I have. We cannot have any bets that are the same. So basically, I'm just betting against you this week.
Yeah.
Moving on to the second game of the week. I do think Double D has an outside in looking shot at the playoffs if he can pull this one off. But you've been riding high on the Andreski train for quite a while. You gonna stick with it?
Yeah, I'm not hopping off that train. I think he's got the best lineup between these two teams. I think Kamara is going to have a much better bounce back game for him. Justin Herbert, I think, is going to ball it out against an overrated, in my opinion, New England defense. And Derek got some question marks. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, where has he been all year, right? Kyler Murray, can he bounce back against a very tough Rams defense? I mean, Brandon Ayuk, that's his replacement for Will Fuller. I think this is his first back after being injured. So,
yeah. And then even Michael Thomas has got to be one of the most frustrating players this year. People paid big bucks for him, and he's only put up one 20-point game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm taking Derek on that one. Finally, Muppets versus Paul. Are you gonna make me bet against myself on this?
You better believe it. Absolutely.
You are such a jerk. All right. In this one, I mean, truth be told, I really like my lineup this week. I just added Zach Moss today off waivers, but Myles Gaskin, who's still on IR as of currently.
I think he's on track to play.
Going to play this week, most likely.
Yeah, he's on track, I think.
So he's likely going to substitute in for Zach Moss. I think I've got a pretty stacked lineup this week. I really like my odds. But hey, we saw last week, Paul can put up some numbers when he needs to.
Yeah.
When he gets them rolling on all four wheels here, you got Kenyon Drake, Nick Chubb. They both had big weeks last week. Can they continue it? DK Metcalf, Baker Mayfield. You never know what he's going to produce. The big question mark I see on his team is Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
There was actually a point, I don't know if it was in this league or another one, that I was considering picking up Mitch because I wanted to put something in there and I couldn't bring myself to do it. In a lot of cases, I would almost rather roll the dice on a wide receiver than
Sure.
put on Trubisky. And when you look at his numbers this year, it kind of shows why. You don't know
Yeah.
when this game's going to happen.
Right. Well, I mean, in that game, I think he came in. I mean, he had absolutely no attempts. He kneeled. I don't know what happened with him, but I think he got hurt. He probably got hurt. But yeah, I mean, it's Mitchell Trubisky when I mean, he's got Teddy Bridgewater, who's got a bye week. Even if you look at the waivers for Paul's team, I mean, I think the best player available right now is going to be Drew Lock. I mean, yeah, it's.
I would take Trubisky over Locke, by the way.
And that's saying something, because that sucks that you would have to choose between the two of those.
Yeah.
But I'm going with Muppets on this one.
All right. In that case, I'm forced to choose Padelewski. So, which puts me in a really weird position. I've already procured an ornament for you, and I'm ready to send it. I really hope that I win this one, though, just to be in the playoffs, because I do think I do have a great team. One thing that I do want to note on this that I think is interesting is I feel like I ride or die with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
I think I've lost 4 in a row, I believe. I don't know if it shows it on here, or maybe it shows it here.
It will go in the standings. It will say what your streak is. Streak, yeah. You are.
I've lost 4 in a row. So, with that said, you look at DeAndre Hopkins, and you basically ride or die with him.
Yep.
He had that 127-point game, which I don't know why I lost that one, but he hasn't even received the total of that game in the other 3 weeks. And that was a different story from the beginning of the season. The beginning of the season, he was averaging 20 points, and since the bye, he's kind of come out a little sluggish. So hopefully, he can do something against the Rams.
That's tough task against the best corner in the league, and so.
And I mean, he's DeAndre Hopkins. You have to start him. So.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that he can pull off a big game here, because I've shown it in the past that when he doesn't have a big game, I'm up a loop.
Yep.
2 more games this week. As we said earlier, Chris Bennett, like Beckham, is already in the playoffs. They already have, I think, even the 1 spot secured. Ben is in a position where if he wins, he's likely in. But if he loses, he could be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and you know what? I like Ben's lineup this week. I think Josh Allen might struggle a little bit. I think that might be maybe his low point on this team. But Austin Eckler, I mean, if Austin Eckler stays healthy, if Austin Eckler stays healthy, Ben, I think, is in a position where he doesn't have to worry about winning it.
I also love that Ben has the balls to roll out the draft.
Yeah.
The draft.
Can I tell you? I was considering before I saw that Ben got him. I was considering picking up Glennon and replacing Matt Ryan with Glennon. I think this is going to be a sneaky good pick for this week. Mike Glennon I think he's not going to be crazy, but I think Mike Glennon's going to surprise. All right, against a Minnesota defense that's not really that great. Let's be honest.
Right.
So I mean, it's.
So you're taking Ben in this game.
I'm taking Ben. I'll let you have the number 1 seed here.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, one last game this week, and it is your game against.
You know who I'm going to pick.
And I know who you're picking on that one. I'm glad, because I've been on Team Anton for quite a while, and I hope he mops the floor with you. I really hope he does. Yeah, I mean, you have to admit, Anton did make a hell of a turnaround this year.
He sure did.
Being 0-4, I mean, he's a comeback kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's made me eat my own words. When I said he wasn't going to get over 3.5 wins, good for him for that. He's put together a run here to get into the playoffs. Hopefully it's for my case, I hope I beat him, and it's a little too much, a little too It's a little too late for him, but I'm concerned about this game. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, who is fantastic here, I used to have Aaron Rodgers. I traded him to Anton, bad stick. But he's got Fitz. I mean, Fitz might not even play, so we don't know. You look at his backup, it's Philip Rivers. But Tyreek Hill has another fucking game like he had last week. I mean, that'd be it.
I don't see that happening. No. I mean,
yeah, me neither. But he's got a great lineup. I mean, he's got a really good lineup for the most.
He's got a solid lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, the number 4 quarterback, the number 4 wide receiver, the number 1 wide receiver, the number 6 wide receiver.
Yeah.
And the number 7 defense doesn't hurt either. So I do want to take a look at the standings one more time before we recap our bets here. And actually, we can do this both at the same time. So under your predictions, since mine are the opposite of these, we're not going to dive into that. But you have Penbos getting a win, moving up to 7 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And making sure points scored here are right. So he would likely be in at 7 and 6. You have an Andreski win. He would be at 7 and 6, a little bit lower. So let's see how this pans out. You have a Klein win, 6 and 7. Which that would put me above Rob.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd put me at 3rd in the biddies here. You did not choose Augustine. On this side, you chose Ben and Dave to win. So you would move up to 8 and 5. That would be 2nd place. And Ben would be 7 and 6. Meanwhile, Anton would go to 6 and 7.
Yeah.
So you'd have 1, 2. I'm guessing UK Bills would be the 3 seed. Ben would be the 4 seed. So I won't get fined would be the 5 seed.
And you'd be the 6.
And I would be the 6 at 6 and 7. So I do think there will be one 6 and 7 team that makes the playoffs. And even if I do lose this week to Paul, it would still leave it open to another 6 and 7 team. Which in this case I think would actually be Anton or double T potentially if he beat short. Well, yeah, I think it'd be Anton in that case.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a crazy finish. I'm very excited. I'm pumped. I'm excited to see where things stand on Wednesday. Hopefully, all the games have been played by this time, by Wednesday or Thursday of next week, so that we can do the Biddiecast, move on to the playoffs, and it's crazy.
I'm looking forward to it because one thing that I do want to do for the Biddiecast in the playoffs, you and myself, we need to make some bets.
Okay.
We'll see how the playoffs really shake out first before we decide on what bets we're making, but we got to make some bets to keep this interesting.
I'm all for that. Absolutely.
All right, looking forward to this final week of the season, and then the playoffs next week. Any final words for the Biddiecast News Network?
Yeah, I mean, everyone just enjoy your weekend. Stay healthy out there. Don't get COVID. Good luck. I mean, so many teams are still in this. Like, at the end of the day, this is what you want when you go into a fantasy football league, is stuff like this, right? Where almost everybody is still in it at the end. That's exciting. That means the last week of the season, almost everyone is still in play. Good luck to everybody. Go fuck yourselves.